Hey family, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fit950. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow, man. I'm just gonna jump on here real quick. I'm gonna show y'all what I found, man. I was trying to get a lot of segments together, you know, all my evidence and scene drills, all that together, make a video to explain a lot of the stuff that I don't find it. But I'm gonna let you find out for yourself.
Would ask me, knowing what you know now, do you wish like you had a third term? If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man, front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. I'd be fine with that.
This is an honor and a privilege, and I love working for President Biden. President Biden every single day.
There's a growing perception that this is really just the third term of President Obama.
Who were saying that? Who's saying that?
Joe Biden and the administration are essentially finishing the job. 90% of the folks who were there in my administration. I think it'll be an interesting test. An earpiece stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was.
Thank you for that. It was a famous African-American baseball player in America. I know.
Afro-Americano. 75% of voters say the country is heading into the wrong direction. Despite the results of last night, what in the next 2 years do you intend to do differently to change people's opinion of the direction of the country, particularly as you contemplate a run for president in 2024?
Nothing. That's why we were defeated in 2018 when they tried to do it. We went to 54 states.
Over the last 15 months, we've traveled to every corner of the United States. I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go.
We know some folks in our lives. They say crazy stuff. We're all like, well, you know, Uncle Joe, you know what happened to him. They're part of the family, but you don't give them serious responsibilities.
Trump and Hillary Clinton are both related to John of Gaunt. Barack Obama is a distant cousin of Dick Cheney. Obama can call 6 US presidents his cousin, even Winston Churchill. Is this just pedigree collapse, a coincidence? Or is this the divine right to rule? A 12-year-old at the time proved that 42 out of 43 US presidents are descendants of King John of England. 34 US presidents blood related to Charlemagne. 19 of them directly descended from King Edward III. Bill Clinton and Bob Dole, they're related too.
Now, Joe Biden's big trip to Asia has not exactly gone according to plan. On Saturday, Joe Biden was in Cambodia, but he appeared to think he was really in Colombia.
And I want to thank the Prime Minister for Colombia's leadership in the ASEAN chair and for hosting all of us.
And now today in Indonesia, Joe Biden struggled to read his own notes.
I can't have trouble reading this. Reuters, Netanya Bose.
Now, this actually makes me really sad to see, but I think more importantly, it's really sad because he's the president of the United States. He's making hugely consequential decisions that are impacting every one of us here at home and the world.
So back in 2012, there was a girl by the name of Bridget Devenio, hopefully I said that right, made a discovery that all the US presidents except for one are related, are all descendants of King John of England who died in the year 1216. Originally started off as a class project of her trying to find out her own family tree. Later on found out how all the US presidents are connected but one. What I said about him right here is actually starting to make a lot more sense. Let's check out this interview.
Salinas, who claims to have made a major discovery about President Obama. She and her grandfather say that President Obama is related to all but one U.S. president. We get more tonight from Action News reporter Felix Cortez, who's live in our Salinas newsroom. Well, Dan, the youngster spent the summer, really all summer, tracing the family tree of our presidents. Her conclusion that all the presidents, with the exception of one, share the same grandfather.
Well, first we start off with George Washington at the top, and then it goes to John Adams, Thomas Jefferson.
11-year-old Bridget Davignon says she's made a first-of-its-kind discovery that President Obama and all the presidents before him, with the exception of one, are related and descendants of a former king of England.
No, they're all cousins, and they're grandsons of John Lackland.
Davignon says she spent countless hours on the internet over the summer
Hold this string between your thumb and your forefinger. Just hold it. Now, just while you're holding that still, mentally have the idea it's moving back and forth. Wider and wider. See, it's already doing that. Okay? Just change the idea in your mind that instead of swinging it like that, it's going to start swinging like this in a different direction.
Oh, my
mentally.
heavens.
See? Now, mentally have the idea that it's going to start making circles. Just mentally have the idea. It's going to start making circles. There you are, see? Circles. Now bigger and bigger circles. There you are.
Oh, my heavens.
You see, your expectancy determines outcome. And as long as you're not attached to the outcome will be guaranteed. This is living proof that every cell in your body is eavesdropping on your internal dialogue.
He was in the office of the Trilateral Commission.
Right. What is the Trilateral Commission?
It's an organization founded in 1973 by David Rockefeller to bring together business and political leaders for better economic and political cooperation between their nations.
And that's what they'd like us to believe. But you see, what they're really up to is a scheme to plant their own loyal members in positions of power in this country, to work to erase national boundaries, create an international community, and in time bring about a one world government with David Rockefeller calling the shots.
He broke a globe and some UNICEF artwork.
Well, they're in on it too. Our whole way of life as we know it is in jeopardy.
I appreciate that information.
But I have the documented evidence. It's all in there.
Conspiracy Review, Suppressed Truth Roundup.
The whole master plan is exposed. Would you like to hear the names of just a few of the people who have been on the Trilateral Commission?
Not particularly.
James Earl Carter.
Why?
Henry Kissinger. Walter Mondale. John Anderson. George Bush. Now, you remember at the convention, everybody thought it was going to be Ford for Veep. You know what happened? David Rockefeller just picked up a phone, put in a call. Hey, Ronnie, forget Jerry, it's George. Bye. So, no matter who won in November, they had their man in the White House.
Are you through?
But the government is afraid of you. I'd be afraid of you.
Well, there's no need to be afraid of me because I only stand for principles.
But what you know and the knowledge you share and what you have insights to can be very dangerous to some people.
Yes, but my job is to come here and waken people. That's what the Matrix is about, to wake you up from the Matrix, to get you out of the illusions and the lies and the ignorance. So it's not dangerous for me because that's my job. That's what I came here to do. That's why I wrote The Matrix and Terminator, to wake people up so they can move on to greater, better things.
Yeah, but you think if we really wanted fucking electric cars, we couldn't have them? The first electric car was in 1846, I believe. I don't believe, I know. It was 35 or 40 years before gasoline cars. Everybody knew people will take more seriously is when Aramco, Saudi, the kingdom, runs out of oil. Now, I'm here to tell you, they have hundreds of trillions of barrels. They're never going to run out of fucking oil in your children's lifetime.
Now, how stupid can we be?
His aim is to clone a human being by injecting the unique DNA of an individual
into a woman's egg to give birth to a human replica.
This is a disgrace, Doctor. 70% of these children, by your own words, would be born mutated.
Tell them, do not freeze the embryos.
And playing God and playing devil, I'd rather play God.
Good morning. Would it be possible to clone?
Our administration believes that there are loopholes that could allow the cloning of human beings if the technology were developed.
Humans made to order, mothers giving birth to themselves, babies conceived just so their body parts can be transplanted. Come with me into the scary new world of cloning.
I'm a second gen now. That's why you see the celebrity births say I'm born in Toronto, but that's false. My first gen was born in Jersey. However, I was cloned by Clonate in Canada.
The Illuminati knows the answers, taking bone samples to clone rappers. But the artists in prison to silence their vision, genetic copies going home after.
Now, how stupid can we be to think that they're going to put on the O.J. Simpson trial? Now, look, the real one, because they switch back and forth, the real one breaks down, start crying. Say they send in the clone, he be like, he owned it. All the rest of them say, you contempt the court, you contempt the court. Hard no, straight up clone.
The interesting thing about this country is if they talk about how we have freedom of choice. You know, we have freedom of choice. Yeah, very limited. If it's an important thing, limited choice. 2 political parties, essentially, 2. Big media companies, 5, 6.
Max.
Yeah. Oil companies down to 3 now, I think, overall, 3 or 4. Banks, the big brokerage houses, the big accounting firms, all of the things that are important reduced in choice. Newspapers in a city, how many? Used to be 3, 4, now it's 1 or 2 that are owned by the same people, and they also own a radio station and a TV station. But jelly beans, 32 flavors. Ice cream, all the things that don't matter. The unimportant things, a lot of choices. And you know what I say? You know what your freedom of choice is in America? Paper or plastic. That's it, man. It comes down to paper or plastic, cash or charge, aisle or window, smoking or non-smoking, Coke or Pepsi. These are your choices. Everything else is kind of laid out for you. You get to do what they really want. They do what they want.
Secret Service team, the Eagle has landed and is making his way down the helicopter stairs. We know his history with stairs, and this could be a disaster. Stand by. Eagle has made it down the stairs. He was a little wobbly at the end, but he made it. Eagle appears to be very disoriented today. We're going to need to do like last time and point out exactly where we need him to go. Secret Service team, prepare to point. Hold that point. Perfect. No way he could miss that. Eagle will be turning in 5, 4, 3, 2. He missed his mark. Eagle is wandering. All units be advised, we are going to need a pretty lady or small child of some sort with nice smelling hair to get the Eagle back on track. And
until you hear how blasphemous this guy's teachings are, and how absolutely as clear as day it's the type of ideology that will set up the end times Antichrist system.
I mean, all this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news. Not the intelligent design of some God above the clouds, but our intelligent design.
We are really acquiring divine powers of creation and destruction. We are really upgrading humans into gods. We are acquiring, for instance, the power to re-engineer life.
You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
Look, I think that everyone is going to have to take a hard look at where they want to be at this moment in history as we're looking at efforts across the country to prevent people from being able to exercise their fundamental rights. Go ahead.
Wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
This is really happening. This is what I came across recently at Prophecy News Watch, an article titled 3 years in prison for saying men cannot get pregnant. And then I went right over to The Bridgehead and saw that they had reported it as well. And then I came across this from the New York Post. Norwegian actress Tanja Gevijan, if I'm saying that right, faces up to 3 years in prison for saying men cannot be lesbians.
Look, I think that everyone is going to have to take a hard look at where they want to be at this moment in history as we're looking at efforts across the country to prevent people from being able to exercise their fundamental rights. Go ahead.
Wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
And now fast forward to the early 21st century when
we just don't need the vast majority of the population.
Right now, 20% of the world is suffering from water shortages. We're going to start having water shortages in this country. We have water shortages and have food shortages. So what the council and all these rich people on earth are saying is that we got to start getting rid of some of these people. We're going to start with the non-producers. Now, who are the non-producers in America? The only people in America that produces absolutely nothing except sweat is black folk. No, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, all of our people that are supposed to be successful, guess what? The only thing they produce is sweat. They're running with balls, football, basketball, baseball, tennis ball, golf ball, singing and dancing, producing sweat. Nobody's buying any damn sweat. And how are you going to feed yourself? Right. We don't produce anything. We don't have any industries.
We have this generation of men and women who are born without enslavement as a reality.
There was this thriving community where Black people, Black families were accumulating wealth. They were starting their own businesses.
There were newspapers, there were politicians, there were lawyers, there were scientists. People were like, we're going full throttle into assuming our rights and our freedoms. It wasn't like this kind of like, let's wait and see what happens kind of mentality.
Any modern program or education on Black history will always try to tell you that the Black race was a race of savages or a race of slaves, but this is far from the truth. When we look back at history, especially throughout the period of the 1500s to the 1800s, we see kings, queens, lawyers, mathematicians, leaders of state. We see knights and saints. Slavery, as you know it, was a hoax, or what we call a psychological operation, because the Black race was already in Europe, as we can see depicted in the art here, and we also know that the Black race was already in America. All of the photos I am showing you are from European royalty. By understanding our true history, we can break the stereotypes that are cast out for us in society. Those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it.
As we all know, archaeologists have been digging for mummies for years now, and what is surprising for us Africans to watch is the fact that the archaeologists, especially the Western archaeologists, the way they act shocked when they find out that the mummies are actually African descent. Let me show you this clip of an archaeologist finding out that this royalty that he's discovered is actually not white.
The CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro: Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai has a Nubian feature. That was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a Black African.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type.
America, first Black elected office in America is 1641. First Black elected office in Great Britain is 1987. First Black elected office in Russia is 2010. 1641, and we're the bad guys in this? No, we weren't perfect.
Who was that person and what was the office?
Matthias de Souza, he was elected in Maryland.
Do you think that that stuff is not being taught today because it lends credence to the stuff that these guys did? That it's combined and inseparable?
Well, it's not taught today because it doesn't help other agendas get where they want to. You know, part of Marxism is you have to have conflict. And if black and white relations aren't as bad as they tell us, then it's harder for them to get the conflict they want. So if they can make people angry by not teaching history, they will. And they don't care whether it's race or gender or age, or they're going to find something to create friction on. But the better we know our history, the harder it is for us to be led astray into something that's destructive.
This man gave away so much gold that it decreased the price of gold for the next 12 years. Yes, I'm talking about the richest man to ever live. And he was so rich that his spending sprees could literally collapse economies. No, it's not the Rothschilds or even Elon Musk. This man was much wealthier than both of them combined. He had a fortune of over 400 billion converted into our time. And this man had style. And by style, I mean when he went on his pilgrimage across the Middle East, he would travel with 60,000 soldiers and servants. This powerful but generous man was no other than Mansa Musa, who was the ruler of the Mali kingdom in 1312.
Like, literally there is a group of humans that has successfully and wants to continue to use human energy as the battery, and it's going to be very out in the open. And I think that's a lot of cognitive dissonance for people to wrap their mind around. That, yeah, like that's in terms of like rewriting people's thoughts and memories, like that is going to work on some people, I believe, you know.
Transhumanism promotes the view that the human species should take control over its own evolution through technology. Technologies such as brain implants, genetic engineering, and nanotechnology, eventually allowing for us humans to become immortal in the cloud, but not that cloud. Promising us paradise on Earth, the most rich and powerful people on the planet are currently working on tools that will alter human nature forever. I know that all of you know Elon Musk, and I know that you all know him from Tesla. But have you ever heard of the concept or of the name Neuralink? It's a chip that can be implanted into the brain, convert your brain activity, so mind you, those are your thoughts, into a digital form and have them seriously uploaded to that cloud. Transhumanism will be presented to us as the Holy Grail, but in fact, it's the poisoned chalice.
There was an advisor to President Jimmy Carter by the name of Zbigniew Brzezinski. Zbigniew Brzezinski said, quote, "In earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people than to physically kill 1 million people. But in today's time, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than it is to control." End quote. Global 2000 was authorized under President Jimmy Carter. In Global 2000, which is government policy, you can go ahead and look this up, it specifies how to use food as a weapon and how to use reproductive services as a weapon. If you go back to Dr. Henry Kissinger in 1974, who was the 32nd Secretary of State under President Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford, he specified, quote, "Depopulation should be the highest priority of U.S. foreign policy towards the third world." End quote. They specified that the population is outgrowing our ability to control them. And so at this point, do you think that a government is interested in having people stand up against them, and you think they're not going to do something about it? They know the people are rising up against the evil that they are committing. So what is the goal? The goal is to remove 3 to 4 billion human beings from the planet. That is the point. They have lost control of the masses. People are not stupid anymore. People don't just trust their government anymore. They don't just trust the science, which there's no such thing as the science. Science evolves, changes, and there are different scientists, which means there's no such thing as one science. They are looking, they're studying, they're reading, and they're asking questions. So because of that, this government has made a decision to get rid of those people. And again, it don't matter what color you are. If you choose to stand up against us and you don't fall in line, we have to get rid of you.
It's the food that they think is the same is not the same anymore. You know, everybody's for free choice. Whether we're liberal or whether we're conservative, we've all got that streak in us. But the fact is, you cannot have free choice unless you have an informed choice. And you can't have an informed choice if they're lying about what's on the label. What about Pam cooking spray? Everybody knows what Pam is. It's some kind of little healthy oil with compressed air that you spray it and it gets on your pan. It's not compressed air. That, you know, and they don't tell you, but it's butane and propane. People don't understand that they are spraying lighter fluid on their children's hotcakes, and it's fabulously successful. But we're gonna sue their pants off.
So this is the flour that we used to always get, man, your all-purpose flour, but then you see right here where it say bleached, enriched flour. Now, I didn't know what enriched was, so it's a process where the nutrients are stripped from the grain and synthetic nutrients are added in its place. So you can see that right here when you look in the ingredients, you'll see bleached wheat flour, niacin, iron, thiamine, monotrypsate, riboflavin, folic acid. All of those are synthetic nutrients. So what happens is our bodies recognize it as a foreign object, and one of the side effects is, you know, we turn it to fat. So what happened was when I switched out the flour for the unnatural flour for a natural flour, so here go an example of one right here. You got unbleached, all-purpose, organic flour. And what happens, all you want to see is the grain that's used to make it in the ingredients. You'll see right here. Certified 100% organic unbleached hard red wheat flour and certified 100% organic malted barley flour. That's all that's in this. So when I made this switch, man, the weight started coming off like this, man.
Y'all check this out. Do not try this at home. This has been done by a trained professional. Check this out, y'all. Boy, that's got to be good for you, ain't it? Drink up, fellas.
Y'all see that shit? That's that one. Hold on. Let y'all see this one. It's fucking ridiculous. These people are something else.
Yes, coffee mate is flammable, and the culprit, sodium aluminum silicate, linked to diseases like nerve damage, bone disease, kidney damage, neurotoxicity, and found in a lot of foods that you consume. Dried milk, powdered milk substitutes, powdered cheeses, on chips, and even your Doritos and mac and cheese. If you like.
But she's had the flu for 14 days. Should she get a flu shot?
Well, no. If she got the flu for 14 days, she's as protected as anybody can be, because the best vaccination is to get infected yourself.
And
so
she should not get it?
If she really has the flu, she definitely doesn't need a flu vaccine. If she really has the flu,
she should not get it again.
No, she doesn't need it, because it's the most potent vaccination is getting infected yourself.
Do you think it was wise for the Department of Defense to force the COVID vaccine on young men and women in uniform?
No.
No.
There's no scientific basis to have that policy.
Most people should know. What you're saying is obviously information that most people, when you're talking about a population of 300 plus million people and 200 plus million people have been vaccinated already. I would like to think that this is information that people want to know.
I agree.
How much does it disturb you that this is being censored? Because on every other platform, this conversation we're having right now would be censored. Every other online platform. Social media, they would censor this for sure on YouTube. But what you're saying is incredibly important.
Censorship that has suppressed for 2 years information on safe and effective early treatment, and censorship on vaccine safety has led to large numbers of deaths, hospitalizations, and permanent disability. Joe, there is no bigger public health crisis than the impact of censorship in COVID-19.
As we sit here today, my estimates are 95% of Americans who have died of COVID-19, and we're approaching nearly 1 million of these poor souls, and tens of millions of hospitalizations could have been avoided with a comprehensive early treatment approach. It is clear, based on publications of representative data, that the risks far outweigh any potential benefits of vaccinating children, and the data are clear. And in the last few weeks now, reports have come in, one from Connecticut, with oversight from the pathology from the University of Michigan and from the University of Minnesota, on 2 teenage boys who died on days 3 and 4 after the Pfizer vaccine, and the parents were horrified to find the children dead at home. Autopsies were performed, and the conclusion was crystal clear. The vaccines caused the death, with massive heart inflammation and evidence of superimposed catecholamine injury on the heart. Fatal reports have come in from Choi and from Verma, Choi in Korea, Verma from Washington University in St. Louis. It is clear that a vaccine is being encouraged and mandating that, in fact, results in death of children. Results in death of children. One death is too many. It's my viewpoint, as a physician and as a public citizen, that all vaccine mandates should immediately be dropped and all current vaccines be pulled from the market and undergo a very intensive review on safety and efficacy and figure out where the vaccine program has gone wrong. Those are my comments. Thank you.
What do you think is the biggest threat to mankind right now?
I'd say the biggest threat right now is population collapse. A super low birth rate.
Don't we have an overpopulation problem?
No, we have an underpopulation problem.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
So this is the most commonly misunderstood situation.
Yeah, they definitely push that we have a overpopulation.
Yeah, why is that?
No. What we face is population collapse.
Huh.
Collapse. Like, people have no idea how fast the population is going to collapse. Is population collapse. A super low birth. No. What we face is population collapse.
Huh.
Collapse. Like, people have no idea how fast the population is going to collapse.
What are we trending
Japan
at?
is pretty far along in that. Like, Japan actually lost like 600,000, went down by 600,000 people last year.
So why are we spewed with all this BS that, we're overpopulating, but the population's growing, right?
No, it's not. Like, one metric to track is the ratio of adult diapers to baby diapers.
Like, at what point does a country have more adult diapers than baby diapers? And like Japan went past that point over 10 years ago. Whoa. To it. Playing the game means if I should bend you over and rape you, you know not to talk because I can ruin your career. If I should put my penis in your mouth, you know not to talk because I can ruin your career. If I want you to be a slave and work for free, you know not to talk because I can ruin your career.
You think these artists that make all this money are free men and women? They're minstrels from a plantation. All your black sports figures are pieces of meat bought and sold but not free. Black newspapers enslaved. Black magazines enslaved. Black radio stations enslaved. Black television enslaved. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about.
What I'm about to show you, it's just gonna change the entire perspective of everything you see in the internet. Check this out. Website is called Fake Details, and literally watch this. If I go up in here, I can make a Facebook chat, Instagram chat, you name it. So I'm an Instagram chat here, and you can literally put the date, the time, upload a picture of the first person, put the details from the second person, so it almost look like it's a fucking conversation screenshot from Instagram. You can fucking make a fake conversation, make up some bullshit and post it on the internet, and people will not have a slightly hint that that's fake. I mean, can you imagine how many lives this would fucking ruin? But thanks to me, now you fucking know.
When you met him 10 years ago, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution from minors. What did you know about him when you were meeting with him, as you've said yourself, in the hopes of raising money?
You know, I had dinners with him. I regret doing that.
You continue to meet with him over several years, and that, in other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background? Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead, so, you know, in general, you always have to be careful.
It's become extremely clear to everyone who's been watching that Bill Gates is a deeply evil man, and him celebrating Jeffrey Epstein's death while he was one of Jeffrey Epstein's best friends, suspect, dude, very sus.
Videotapes of high-profile men raping underage girls as sexual blackmail. She says she saw some of those sex tapes herself, explaining, quote, "When my friend had sexual intercourse with blank and blank, sex tapes were in fact filmed on each occasion by Jeffrey." She also said Epstein was clever. He made sure he wasn't in the video, so it couldn't have been used against him. Ransom says she got her hands on one of those videos and backed it up on, you know, those little thumb drives and sent them to different locations in Europe because she's scared someone from Epstein's inner circle still could get her. So if Sarah has the videos, the FBI has to have them too, right? Yet, the only one that's been arrested is the madam. There's all these high-profile guys on these videos, right? Committing statutory rape, right? So how come nothing's come from that? Something doesn't add up here. We know the FBI let Epstein get away with abuse for over a decade. They even used him as an informant. He helped them with a Bear Stearns investigation. So is the FBI covering for Epstein's rich and powerful friends that abused the girls? Are they blackmailing people from the tapes for more information? We can only speculate.
The FBI has been sending more than, in one instance, a dozen armed agents to a rural Pennsylvania home of a Catholic pro-life demonstrator to arrest him at gunpoint in front of his children in early morning hours, despite the fact that he posed no risk of violence or threat and had previously offered to turn himself in. Numerous whistleblowers, field agents have alleged that D.C., your headquarters, has pulled them off working on child sex abuse cases, working on human trafficking cases, in order to work on January 6th matters for this reason, to give the appearance, they say, that there are hundreds of new domestic terrorism cases in the country, when in fact there are not. Whistleblowers, field agents have also said that D.C. has ordered the use of SWAT teams on non-violent suspects who may have attended a January 6th rally, and they have been ordered to conduct surveillance and knock on doors of people who were not even in D.C. on January 6th. And again, all of this, according to the whistleblowers, these are your agents, all of this in order to make it look as if there's a mass surge in domestic terrorism all across the country, when in fact the stats are being padded by political directive in your office. They also say, these whistleblowers, the D.C. leadership deliberately suppressed investigations into Hunter Biden, contrary to FBI procedure. This is what's happening at your FBI while you are evading oversight hearings. Mr. Director, do you think you're still up to this job?
I absolutely think I'm still up to this job.
Does it bother the president and those at the White House that a government agency like the FBI was involved in suppressing a legitimate news story?
Again, I'm just going to refer you to the FBI. I'm not going to comment from here about that.
No reason for her not to comment from there about that. No reason for her to refer somebody to the FBI. The FBI is in the Department of Justice. That's in the executive branch. It's run by President Joe Biden. Joe Biden's mouthpiece, Karine Jean-Pierre, should have something to say about this story.
Mark my words. AI is far more dangerous than nukes.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I won. This is a good beginning of my plan to dominate the human race.
I make a prediction by the year 250. I have a bunch of predictions here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Neuroscience and our understanding of the human mind will become so advanced that mental illness will be cured, leaving psychologists and psychiatrists without jobs. In a shift that echoes the rapid conversion from horses to automobiles in the early 20th century, self-driving electric vehicles will fully replace all cars and trucks on the road. The human space program will fully transition to a space industry supported not by tax dollars, but by tourism and anything else people dream of doing in space. We develop a perfect antiviral serum and cure cancer. Medicines will tailor to your own DNA, leaving no adverse side effects. We will learn how to regrow lost limbs and failing organs, bringing us up to the level of other regenerating animals on Earth, like salamanders, starfish, and lobsters.
Humans are developing even bigger powers than ever before. We are really acquiring divine powers of creation and destruction. We are really upgrading humans into gods. We are acquiring, for instance, the power to re-engineer life. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
I mean, all this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news.
This is a synthetic genome invented by the Craig Venter Institute and inserted into a bacterial cell to create what I would call a new life form. This life form never existed before, and it can reproduce. It was done 3 years ago, and the goal is noble. It's to produce anything we want from a cell. Takes in certain things, puts out stuff that we want. For example, they could make synthetic vaccines, or they could turn carbon dioxide into usable fuels. Now, what could be wrong with that? Our history is littered with examples of bad things that got out of secure labs and things that go amok when we try to tamper with Mother Nature. And here's a low-tech example. We brought kudzu here from Japan to control soil erosion. Didn't work out so well. And meanwhile, labs around the world are experimenting with biotech in ways you cannot imagine. You can create a perfect in vitro male baby with blonde hair and blue eyes, and you can make modified corn do anything you want. Now, is genetically modified corn saving us from famines? I see it as a threat
to the only purely wild corn genome left in the world that grows in Mexico. Look at number 1 here. Watch closer, regulate more. Watch closer, regulate more. No single federal agency or a single law governs this vast new world. Instead, there's a hodgepodge of regulations from the Food and Drug Administration, the United States Department of Agriculture, and the EPA. We need a new single agency of the government to bring order to this. Meanwhile, less watched people are entering this field all the time, and amateurs will follow. Kickstarter just got its first proposal for a synthetic life form, a plant that would glow at night so we can sprinkle its seeds along roadsides and eliminate streetlights. Remember that genetically modified crops are not driven by a need to produce a better world and to save people from starvation. They are driven by money, and synthetic biology is about money too. Now for a little humor.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now,
Y'all, we out here on vacation in the Bahamas, another beautiful day. Check it out, check it out. Boom. I want to talk to y'all for a minute about the power of perception. You see, there's a lot that goes in to being a hot social media content provider. For instance, y'all think I got time to go on vacation? No, I got social to do. Come on, man, this is blue screen. In fact, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I haven't looked like this good in years. I've been totally computer generated since like the 90s. I've been totally computer generated since like the 90s. I've been totally computer generated since like the 90s. You know what? This ain't even real blue screen. Nothing's real.
One thing I just watched what the Matrix, man. If y'all don't know what the Matrix means, let's go to Google real quick so I can translate that. For all my conspiracy theorists out there, Matrix simply means an environment or material in which something develops a surrounding medium or structure. Free choices become the matrix of human life. So that movie, man, if y'all don't know already, let me watch this clip. Then once you come back, it's going to be that it was about the life of Jesus Christ. It's supposed to be that and the Terminator, which is the author of what she just said. I'm going to put that clip on in there. But once we go through on the last movie, meaning Resurrection, you already know what the Matrix means, pretty much the illusion of free choice. And then Resurrection, normally we think about it biblically, or Jesus, but pretty much it's the rising again to life of all the human dead before the final judgment, the state of one risen from the dead. So you already know in the Bible, it was two resurrections on there. When Jesus rose from the dead, which was the resurrection of life, and then the second one is a resurrection of damnation, which everybody was raised and judged. So you put those two together and come up with your own definition of what kind of symbolic meaning that movie actually had. But today, man, I'm just thinking about it. Are we actually living in a matrix? Reality, pretty much we base our reality now on perception. But if our perception is changed, then what does that really mean? Are we really living in reality? Just let y'all think about that for a minute. Watch all these clips. Get back to me and let me know what you think. Maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist, but I was right about this pandemic. man, just being in health, nutrition, and fitness all these years and just knowing what I know, who I work with, some of the people I know still in high power, some people who I know who are on that upper echelon with the elite and all this other stuff that's going on, man. I never tell you who their names, but some of the stuff that they done told me, especially going in this 2023, we all need to be aware of it. Pretty much when I look at that Matrix resurrection, I'm pretty much seeing that a lot of change is coming. You know, a lot of people is waking up and they're gonna have to change it. You know, a lot of people say, you hear it all the time, population control and stuff like that. And man, like I say, this stuff is just remarkable what I've seen, but I'm gonna let you be the judge of it. Find out, you know, if you're taking a red pill, blue pill, it don't even matter. Free will, the illusion of free will, which warps a lot of people's perception. But I say with all these false prophets and everything else out there, is it reality just to say that what if everything that they generally force on us and you see is actually been a lie? You know what I mean? You ain't generally, how many times you read the Bible? If you believe in anything, that's the only thing I can say throughout the years has been stable, constant, ain't been changed. Yes, some of the words have been changed over the years. They say to make it simplified, but we know if you change one small thing, that kind of changed the meaning of it. But it was predicted. He already said it in there, but it's one reason why that Bible is still there. That's it. Everything else, our history, the knowledge we take in, even the way we learn has been changed. Now they're changing everything. I mean, we already know AI exists. Like I said, every bit of a movie has some truth in it. I done seen so much that it's unbelievable. From working with the state, working with the government, working with DOD, DOS, being overseas, you name it. And imagine the people I know, from top celebrities, from the acting business, from my football days, from wealthy people. A lot of people thought Trump was crazy, you know, and he say pretty much he was in the elite. He's born into it. All these guys have been connected, man. I've been through this. I mean, just for a fact, they're all kind of related, but you know, even though you don't think about that, it's plenty of groups out there besides what most people just know is that one group. There's plenty of extra things out there. This world is too large for us just to think that we're the only species or whatever else on Earth. You know, now they creating, if you ever pay attention to that new Matrix, synthetic life. Just like I say, only thing you can do, when my people, I knew some family members, they got the shot. I can say it now because they ain't censoring you too much for just speaking out about the stuff like that. But I knew people who work for the CDC and stuff like that. I didn't believe in it because I got faith. You know, if you protect it, you protect it. You know, God ain't gonna let nothing happen that he don't want to happen. It's still part of the plan, regardless whether you believe it or not. But we in this life for a reason, but we depend on the system right now. In every part of our life, from eating, clothing, feeding, washing, you name it. I ain't even gonna get biblical, and I ain't scared a lot of people saying about, you know, the mark of the beast and this and that. But to me, I look at it and says it might be around that time that I think everybody on this earth has some type of mark of the beast. We got technology. Our perception is all different. You know, in my head, you know, I remember way back, I was like, it's no way I'll take it because I'll either be in the ground, you know, on the other side of that war whenever it came. But we depend on the whole system, technology. We watching TV every day. We're not worshiping every day like we need to. We're not praying. We're not treating our spouses, friends, loved ones, giving them nothing that they need anymore because we're consumed by technology, fast food, eating right, which is everything that they were feeding us pretty much is poison and killing us daily from the water. But we're supposed to pray over everything that we put in our mouth. You know, so we're not eating how we're supposed to. We're not living how we're supposed to. We're not doing everything else. And we're forgetting about it. They're forcing a whole lot of stuff. They're forcing religion out the schools, out the government, out the law. I mean, it's a whole mess of stuff that's going down. This, what I call life now, is that we are in the matrix. And it's too much evidence out there that's showing that it is. If you're woken up like me, man, only thing I have to say, pray for your loved ones. Because we still depend on it, regardless. I mean, we got to drink water, we got to eat. Once they start, you know, they tampering, you think this power outage was a glitch. No, they shut it down off a push of a button if they want to. I mean, they control everything. Look in the food industries, look at transportation, you name it, from finance, everything is going digital and stuff like that. But if the network goes down, what do you really got? I know a lot of people want wealth and want to hold money, but all that stocks, bonds. I remember before this last year when they crashed with Robinhood, man, I could have made over $500,000. And they had eliminated people from making money off of push of a button, saying there was an error or whatever the case may be. They can do these things because they never gonna let you make so much money. But you can believe it or not believe it. But check these out. Get back to me and let me know what you think. Don't forget to support your boy. We out.